Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Prince Akapo, and tonight we are going to look at a very interesting topic. But then, before that, I would like to introduce my panelists. So we have from UG, that is the University of Ghana, we have Marilyn Anafoma Anafo. Please give it up for her, even as she comes up on stage. Let's welcome from UMAT, Ms. Karen Hapok Ayela. And also from the KNUST chapter, let's introduce Asiedu Mameya Yeboah. And then from GIJ, shall we welcome Sampana Emanuela Yembe. Oh, please, do it better for her. Let them feel encouraged to be seated here amongst us. So, of course, tonight we're going to look at a very important and very interesting topic. According to the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, young people are barred from being elected as president until age 40, using different countries as a case study, explained with evidence the impact of this on economic and youth development. So quickly, because of time, my fellow panelists, I am going to, read out the questions, and then you try as much as possible to answer them within, the shortest possible time, and so also for the discussion to be effective as well. So my first question to you, my fellow panelists, I believe that we are all listening and would pay rapt attention to this discussion. Of course, so my first question, what is your understanding of a youth?
The time from childhood to adulthood is described as being in your youth age. So it's the time from your childhood to your adulthood, or maturity. According to my research, you do not have a universal definition for youth, but there has been definitions by organizations and individuals. Some say that a youth is a person between the ages of 14 and 25. Some say a youth is a person between the ages of 14 and 29. Others also say a youth is synonymous to growth, to change, to progress, and to future. So a youth is someone who is willing to change, who identifies problems and finds solutions to them.
All right, so in your view, and of course, this is very general. In your view, why do a few percentages of the youth population in the country involve or participate less in public affairs? So,
okay, I'll say this. The reason why in Ghana specifically the youth are not participating so much in politics is because we are being restricted. We are being told that we don't know enough, and also we are being threatened. For example, recently there was an election between one of the political parties, and a young graduate was standing for one of the positions, and he was being threatened because they didn't see him fit for the position. So these are some of the reasons why, some of the youth don't engage in politics in the country.
Okay, so from discussing with my other colleagues, I realized that majority of us do not really engage in public affairs because we've actually lost hope in the country. Because I spoke to my friend and he was like, even if he contributes, what is the country going to do? What are the leaders going to do? So because of that, the little amount that he has, his little contribution, he's not going to make it out because he feels like his voice is not going to be heard. So this is a main reason why we really do not participate in public affairs. And as you said, our elders, they don't really give us a listening ear, and sometimes they just don't listen to us. And they are in the offices, they don't give us a chance to bring out our points of views and stuff. So I feel like we not being heard is part of the problem, and that's the reason why we've lost hope in the country, because no matter what we say, no matter what we do, nobody is going to listen to us. So we've lost hope in the country.
Thank you very much.
So Chapter 5 of the Constitution states that individuals should be given the freedom to expression. I saw recently on the news that Captain Smart was arrested because he spoke against the government, and I don't think it's right, because as individuals and as scholars, we should be given, I think fear is also part, we should be given the freedom to speak or like speak against the government when they do something bad. So me, I think fear is part, because nowadays when you say something on social media, people will come out and like they will attack you. So I think fear is also part. That's why people don't take part in public.
Thank you very much. And I believe that a lot of us here actually don't participate in public affairs because of the fears and the threats that we are faced with. For example, imagine if the country Ghana was, prospering, everything is going well. Whenever the youth, bring ideas on board, the leaders listen and then, they implement it. I'm very sure that a lot of people would, rush into the political aspect of the country and then, would want to make sure that the country develops. Now, quickly to the third question. By drawing lessons from other countries, explain with evidence the impact of age restriction in governance on economic and youth development.
So I think that age restriction shouldn't be a hindrance for someone to pursue or someone to want to be a president of a country, because I believe that it is the person's motive and what the person has to bring on board. That is what you are supposed to consider, what the person has to offer, not the age. Now we are evolving. There is globalization, there is a lot of research, technology. So small children, young people are learning a lot. So I think that if they are given the opportunity to be able to lead, they have great ideas that they can help the country, not necessarily somebody who is old, because we know that old age means wisdom, but then it's not necessarily that nowadays. There are a lot of research, a lot of knowledge out there that we can collectively help. So I think that age shouldn't be a restriction. We should amend our constitution so that even the youngest, who we think that the person is capable of leading, would be given the opportunity to lead. Yes. For countries like South Africa, the age limit is 35. Ghana is 40. And I think Botswana is 30. Yes, even for some countries it's 18, because they believe that as at 18 we are adults, and so we are able to think for ourselves, we are able to think well deeper into issues. And so I think that age shouldn't be a restriction.
From the Ghana youth policy, a youth is starting from the age of 13 to 35. So if majority of when we look at our age structure, we see that majority of the people in the country are into that age bracket. So if the youth are not participating in politics, that means that majority of the needs, or like the needs of the people, are not being heard or not being considered into governing the country. So it turns that our needs are not being taken care of. As our sister said, she said that the older people are rather in government, governing the country, but they actually don't know the needs of the society, because the youth are not there to also give them the ideas, with the elder people with the ideas to govern the country. Also from Kenya, they reduced their age restriction from 40 to 35, which has allowed a lot of people, a lot of the youth to engage in the political activities of the country. So I'm saying that if this age restriction has caused a lot of problems by not meeting the needs of the people.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'll kind of disagree with what Kerry says, because I personally feel like there should be an age restriction, because you cannot be 16 years old and you want to run for president. You are really not matured enough. But what I believe we can do is that the age restriction for running for presidency in our country is 40 years. And comparing it to countries like the US, their age limit is 35 years. So I feel like Ghana can reduce the age rate from 40 to 35, because even before you get to the 40 years to run for that presidency in this country, you need to do a lot of things. And by the time you become president, you are in like your 50s and then start. So I personally feel like there should be age restriction, but they should reduce it from 40 to maybe 35 or 30.
Thank you very much. So you believe that with the age from 40 to 35, you agree with that? You agree that Ghana should adopt that system? And do you think that reducing the age from 40 to 35, do you think that there's going to be any change at all in the country? Because, I mean, even the parliamentarians, okay, you have about 235 that are, above 50, and then the rest, which is 40, are below 50 years. Now, you can see from this angle that very less youths, okay, are even involved in the parliament. So I want you to explain to me that reducing the from 40 to 35, do you think it is going to be significant?
I believe that there will be a significant change, because when we reduce it to 35 or 30, so at age 18 or age 20, I know that if I start involving myself in political affairs, by the time I get to 35 years old, I am well equipped to run for president. So I'm able to maybe work in the parliament, work as like a senate, something like that. So by the time I get to 35, I am well equipped and I can run for presidency instead of waiting to get to 40 years before I now start doing all these things. And by the time I run for president, I'm 50 years old, and maybe I would not even win.
So this is the last question for the panel discussion. What are some of the reforms you would suggest is needed to create a sound environment for youth and economic development?
A way we can reform or create an environment for sound economic and youth development is by giving the youth practical education from the submission from School University. Practical education, which will give the youth skills to be able to help with the development of the economy and also develop the youth.
To me, I think it's about time the youths are allowed to come out with what they can do, like to show their capability. Yes, which I call the GISA generation. It's about time to be the GISA generation allowed and sack the hippo. I consider this government as the hippo generation because they talk about everything. So it's about time they allow the youth, which I call the GISA generation, to come and take over.
Thank you very much. So, Karen, this would be your last submission.
So I think that I'm strongly for the constitutional amendments to the age restriction. The age restriction. I'm strongly for it because you know that in America, the youngest president ever was 41 years. Yes. And Joe Biden, right? He was the youngest president and he was 41 years. Age restriction. There shouldn't be any age boundary. Yes. And for the Akufo-Addo, he was 79 years. Yes. So I believe that we should give room for everyone. So far as you are capable of being a leader, we should give room for everyone.
Thank you very much. Please, shall we put our hands together for them?
So I think a quick submission from Mr.
All right, guys, I'm very impressed with the thought processes that you guys have shared. I think the issue is not about age. It's really about timing, right? The world has changed, right? And if you look at the people who have created change, they are innovators. How many of you know Jack Dorsey? Jack Dorsey built Twitter, all right? How many of you know Mark Zuckerberg? He created a communication platform called Facebook, a social media network, right? Now, based on their thought processes, it's allowed politicians to change the way they see the world, right? There are about 10 people I'll just quickly read through. They are below 40, and they are presidents and heads of state in different countries, all right? The issue of age is just trying to create a bridge between the old school and the new school, right? So you said they should move away so you can create new innovation. They are very relevant, right? The older people are very relevant to continuity, right? A lot of these new companies that we talked about, Twitter and all these guys, they leverage the wisdom of the old people. But they are quick with ideas, and they're able to implement these ideas because they had the wisdom of the older generation, right? We need the old people to be there, but we, the young people, I consider myself young, to be basically actors and last mile runners. We're the ones to go in the interlands and the hinterlands and do all the real work and bring the evidence back to them for lawmaking and policy and create that bridge. If you get rid of all the old people, you and I will be lost, trust me. There are different levels of wisdom that we don't have all the answers for. So it's really giving us space to participate. So let me go to the list. Okay, so the president of Chile is a guy called Gabriel Boric. He is 36 years. He assumed office 2022. The president of Montenegro, Dirian Abazovic, he's 36 years old. The prime minister of Finland, Serena Marin, she's 36. So that's a she. I can't see well. My eyes are giving me. I become old, I guess. Mahamat Debi, president of Chad, he is 38. Kim Jong-un, okay, did I say that right? He's the supreme leader of North Korea. He's 39 years old. Assimi Goita is an interim president for Mali. He is 38 years old. Irikli Garibasvi, Prime Minister of Georgia. Georgia is not far from Russia. He's 40 years old. And lastly, Seda Badi Muhammedudo, long name, President of Turkmenistan, 41 years old. So you can see the list goes on and on and on, right? The world is changing. The young people are rising. Most of all, we need to get involved. We should not be too quick to write off the old people. We should build linkages and bridges with them so there will be transference of wisdom and knowledge. That's my thought.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel Amano and my fellow panelists.